reason why we're doing this, and it's important, it's because my story goes back, or our story goes back for a long period of time. It's been 6 years, so can you hear me well now? I think I'm going to do the same thing and just hold it here. My name is Aida Fernandez, and I'm going to be reading from the papers that I have in my hand. You'll be able to see some of the pictures from the Face Off Movement organization that they posted on their blog, the story, our story. I have a property containing 7.5 acres, which is located in the 8.5 square mile area known as Las Palmas in Miami Dade County. I'm a third-generation farmer. My property has been in active agricultural operations since 1973. The reason why I'm giving you all of this information is how this, and you will see at the end how everything that we have heard of today ties in with what they're actually doing to the people, the farmers, and the property owners in different communities in Miami-Dade County. However, keep in mind, this is not only happening in Miami-Dade County. This is happening all over Florida, and in fact, happening all over the United States and the world, we know, but at least we're trying to protect whatever rights we have right now in the U.S. My property has been inactive, like I said, operations since 1973. In 2005, Miami-Dade County Department of Environmental Resource Management, known as DERM, unilaterally classified at their discretion certain properties as wetlands. And in 2005, Michael Spinelli from DERM, together with Robert Carafo from South Florida Water Management, showed up on my property telling me that I had to cease and desist everything that I was doing because the property was a wetland. I said that that was impossible. There was nothing in my deed or in my title that the property was a wetland. Mr. Carafo went as far as telling me that you will lose your property and do not try to take this to court. Judges don't look at it lightly when someone disturbs wetlands. Well, I didn't know just how right he was at that time. And this was back in 2005. Now I know much better. The intimidation began. I went to all the biologists, spent $18,000 in trying to get permits, and began my quest against what I knew that was wrong, since I had grown up in the area. I requested from DERM the wetland determination and just got the runaround from them, as admitted by Carlos Espinosa, the ex-director of DERM, in an interview by Carmel Cafiero on Channel 7 WSBN. Sometimes determinations, and this is what he said, sometimes determinations are conducted by a drive-by. Sometimes they test the neighbor's property and not a landowner's property for the data. Therefore, it is very difficult to obtain the actual facts supporting the data as to why land is declared wetland. In a number of cases, people never did see the wetland determination. In fact, in all the cases, there were 1,500 families involved in my community. None of them had a wetland determination. At least not from DERM or from any local zoning agency. Sure, they could try to find it, but it's not that easy for the victims to find anything that said on their file that they were wetlands. We have some YouTube videos, so if you want to see more, it's under MiamiLandGrab.com, by the way. I have been harassed, coerced, intimidated, and judicially persecuted. The judicial persecution has cost me an approximately $220,000. In April 2010, I was coerced into signing an agreement wherein I stated that I was to destroy all of my agricultural operations, illegal agricultural operations, as they called it, take out all the soil, and to leave it in Cap Rock. I call it an extortion agreement because before I had to sign, I had to endure all the motions filed against me in court, changes of judges back and forth, in my case, depositions, injunctions, and many hearings and motions to hold me in contempt of court. They went as far as to give me a restraining order on my property. A restraining order on my property, which I paid for. I had never heard of that. I don't know if you've ever heard of anything like that. But this is how far they went. I was advised at that time by my attorney to file bankruptcy immediately so that the bankruptcy judge could stop them from incarcerating me. threatening me with jail. That scared me pretty badly. After the hearing, they continued the persecution. One of the judges, Judge King Levan, granted me a stay and urged me to appeal the 3rd District Court. I had to get a bond of $12,000 in order for me to be able to file a motion at the 3rd District Court of Appeal, which I promptly complied with. I won the preliminary hearing at the 3rd District Court. Immediately, DERM filed in the 11th Judicial Court, Harvey Rubin's court, a removal of my stay, which was then granted by Judge Lester Langer. Judge Lester Langer has been the facilitator used by the government agencies in the judicial system. This serves as an example of how DERM is empowered by the 11th Judicial Court to serve their purpose. Harvey Rubin's court, again his name. They continued threatening me with holding me in contempt of court. I was cited to a deposition so they could put emphasis that I had not stopped my illegal agricultural operations. Please note, I have all my permits on a federal, state, and municipal level, including a water permit from South Florida Water Management and a best management practice permit from the Florida Department of Consumer Services. In this deposition, the Assistant County Attorney, Robert Duvall, told me that I was already financially broke and that even if I would win the case in the 3rd District Court of Appeal, DERM would still pursue me for other stuff, any stuff. I could not afford to be taken to jail. Therefore, I signed the extortion agreement. Immediately, I had to sell 40,000 hibiscus plants in 3-gallon pots as a company to a company that filed bankruptcy 6 weeks after they received my plants. Therefore, no money, and I lost all my plants. That's how my plants were. Further, I received an email from Joanne Klingerman from the Department of Environmental Resource Management and the Assistant County Attorney, Robert Duvall, where it said, and I quote, "The clock is ticking. She has 25 days to remove all plots and plants, etc." This demonstrates their modus operandi. In order to bring attention to what is happening here in Miami-Dade County, I decided to take drastic measures and put myself in a hunger strike on August 17, 2010. Why did I do that? I had gone already to all the politicians, representatives, senator. I have some friends here sitting in the audience, which they've seen me, and we've all went together to just knock on doors. No one would listen. However, whenever we would turn on the radio or see the TV, we noticed how all these politicians pay attention to the people that were doing hunger strikes in Venezuela and Cuba. So we figured, we're in a drastic place already. We've lost everything. We're going to lose even more. So maybe it works. Of course, I thought it would take 2 weeks maybe to get their attention, at least the media. The media attention would have helped. The hunger strike lasted 5 weeks and 3 days, which was 39 days. This should never have been done since I put my health and life in danger. I had to stop because of the damage to my kidneys and very, very low levels in sugars in my blood. Not to mention that my immediate family was totally opposed and refusing to support the cost anymore. They were afraid for my life. There's a part where it says the hunger strike demands. Yeah. So after 28 days of hunger strike, which was right in the middle, I was pleading to the commissioners. I did this for the sake of my community's property rights and right to farm. I wanted to bring the attention to what was happening, never imagining the amount of people that were involved in my same fight. There are many more farmers, property owners that have stories to tell. Last year, there were 400 cases. These stories will demonstrate how property owners, farmers have been unconstitutionally deprived of their land use and left to pay for mortgages and property taxes plus fines, fees imposed by DERM for properties that are to be left vacant and abandoned. It's important to know that this was not eminent domain, what they were doing to us, for any of us. It's just take off, leave your property, keep on paying your mortgage, keep on paying the taxes, keep on whatever you're doing, but you cannot go into the property and you have to just breaking down to the top rock, but you continue paying your mortgage and taxes. And they're not wetland taxes. They're $4,000 to $5,000 a year you pay for a property, which is even much more than residential, at least in my area. The harassment and intimidation continued. On January 28, 2011, after a radio appearance on WQBA Miami, coming face to face in a very heated debate with the director of DERM at that time, Carlos Espinosa, the barn where we kept our horses was set on fire and 5 horses were burned to death. The following night, a helicopter parked right behind the property, my property. I thought they were coming to kill us, to tell the truth. These agencies use helicopters for intimidation. They don't only use helicopters. They come in black Suburbans with tinted windows, and they'll park in front of your house, and they'll watch you. And they'll just look at you or get out and just stand in front of your fence and just look at you like you better stop and you better shut up. So it is not only the helicopters, the intimidation and the harassment that the local governments can give to you is fierce. On March 30th, 2011, I went to another hearing to hold me in contempt of court. Given that I had no money to hire an attorney to represent me, I filed a motion to dismiss the case based on findings that my property is excluded from being a wetland, as stated on Chapter 33B, 56, and 57 of the Miami-Dade Municipal Codes. I presented all of the evidence together with the local law with no objection from Mr. Duval, the Assistant County Attorney. Yet, Judge Lester Langer said that I had taken too long to represent the law, that I was in contempt. Judge Lester Langer said that I had a wonderful lawyer, previously Patricia Valora from Brown and Castell, who in my opinion assisted in the intimidation and did not put a stop to this situation, which I found later on, that 80% of Brown and Castell's lawyer represents CMEX, who uses our lands as mitigation credits for the destruction of pristine wetland properties. One way or another, through email, phone calls, or in person, we have gone to all the politicians. 5 of us affected parties went to Congressman Diaz-Balart office to place complaint as a group last year. This is talking about 2010. We feel this is a federal and state issue, not only local. For the federal government, through a law passed by Congress, which is PB 108-7, 2003, gave the U.S. Corps of Engineers to date $402 million to make sure that we receive flood protection, to promote and protect our agricultural and residential properties in the area. The complaint was forwarded to Eric Holder, then passed to the Civil Rights Division in Washington. Then it died, since they said this was a local issue, which it seems to be everybody's excuse, let's say. It's just a local issue. We have nothing to do with it. When we tried to speak with Congressman Ileana Rosletin, and she said, I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. Congressman David Rivera promised that he would do something about this issue as soon as he got into office. He has not even contacted us in any way, shape, or form, and when I approach him in different gatherings, he seems to avoid it. Our Senator Marco Rubio was sent the story too, and when I approached him face to face, he just told me, yes, you're the one with the problem with DERM, but continued on his campaign. And today, we still have not heard from his office. The problem is not only mine, it is of the people, and we're about 1,500 families involved in this ordeal. On a state level, we have seen various representatives, Carlos Lopez Cartera, who said it was a permit issue, Ron Saunders, who up to date also has not done anything, even though he has been involved in the committee for the past 6 years and he knows exactly what is going on. I personally sent our story to Florida Lieutenant Governor Jennifer Carroll and to our Governor Rick Scott, but have received no answer from them yet. On a local level, we have gone one by one to the commissioners. On my 28th day of hunger strike, I went to the commission chambers while they were meeting and spoke to all 13 commissioners and the mayor at that time, Carlos Alvarez, to no avail. Seeing their lack of response to the public and their constituents, we decided to go one by one and try to speak to them, if not at their offices, in a different meeting. Carlos Jimenez has been approached by us and others many times and has always turned his face away. We have seen in person Commissioner Rebecca Sosa, Commissioner Bruno Barrero, Commissioner Sally Heyman, Commissioner Linda Bell. Commissioner Linda Bell conducted a town hall meeting. She did listen to us, even though we're not part of her district. And saw how continuously for 4 hours people were saying their horror stories about the abuses from this department, the Department of Environmental Resource Management, and telling how DERM is a predatory agency that presently has a budget of $42 million in revenues from fines and permits alone, and has 485 employees. She immediately called for a task force to stop the abuses on the people. But the case was removed from her district to Commissioner Jose Pepe Diaz district. And at that time, he had not allowed the issue of, he didn't give any importance to it. We also went to Inspector General. The representative told us that their office neither had the money or resource to conduct an investigation on DERM. This is the Inspector General, who is supposed, that is their job, to inspect other agencies. No, they have no money, so it really doesn't matter. As it was mentioned before, there are many cases involving the remaining 8.5 square mile area. This situation is not only happening in one area, there are 3 areas involved. There are 250 cases in Hialeah and Okeechobee, and about 250 more in South Dade. Each community has one thing in common: the rock miners beside them. Why? Lime rock. What does it equal? It's white gold. Rock miners get paid an average of $6 to $10 million per acre. That they pay hefty fees to DERM, which is now PIRA, by the way. They changed the name. It should be noted that South Florida Water Management is selling also 6 properties in the area without any restrictions, nor listing them as wetlands. These properties include agricultural and residential properties zoned as vacant land unzoned, or residential unzoned. One of the properties is right in front of mine, but that one is not listed as a wetland, I guess. This is fraud. Innocent buyers will purchase these properties. Soon afterwards, DERM will come and find them. DERM, together with South Florida Water Management, want owners to remove all agricultural crops, remove the soil to the top rock, and leave to revegetate, even if they're planted in rows, plantings, and we have, for example, plantings, coconut, basil, and plant nurseries all over. There have been a number of cases where residential homeowners in the 8.5 square mile area known as Las Palmas are not even allowed, and this was mentioned before, and this is true, they're not allowed to mow their lawns, or they will receive violation fines. These people come around on Sundays, and they will take picture of you cutting the grass, and you will receive a notice of fine. You're not to mow your lawn. DERM inspectors come by on Sundays, like I said, to watch and intimidate you, because they actually do it in front of your face too. It's not like they hide. What the government is doing is not eminent domain. Again, I'm explaining this. We're expected to continue paying for mortgages and taxes. No, we do not pay wetland real estate taxes whatsoever. Land use is being taken away from us. It should be noted that 95% of those affected are Hispanics. I'm a Cuban American that was brought by my parents to the U.S. when I was 6 years old. They were running away from a dictatorial regime that confiscated all of my grandfather's land through land grabs conducted by the Cuban government without compensation to people, which is exactly what we're experiencing here in Miami-Dade County. I'm not waiting to stand by and watch how this happens here. My plea was at that time for someone to come and defend our property rights and civil rights on the legal arena, which we have not found yet. We have not found anyone to go against this monster that is Miami-Dade County. DERM needs to seize all illegal doings. They have not seized any illegal doings. They're still going around. And in fact, we have even many stories that are even worse than my story. We have suicides, we have shootings, we have people that have tried to commit suicide and burn their properties and still survive, and they're in the trauma center in Jackson because they have lost everything. They have lost their business, they have lost their family, they have lost their health, they have been brought down into bankruptcy, and they have nothing left to live for, or else they think. This is the way they come into your life, and they intercede, and they just dictate what to do in your life. When this was happening, I had to, once I got an order, and I had spoken to Duval, of course I was representing myself, and I was told that I was going to go to jail. This happened a year ago, and I had to flee the country. Not flee because I was afraid, or flee because I had an order at that time, but just because I could not imagine that I could be facing jail for defending my property. I purchased that property with our money. Nobody gave it to me. I didn't steal it from anybody. And that for us, that we are decent people, honest people, that we pay our taxes, that we do things correctly, to be threatened, coerced, and harassed in this manner as to put you in jail. And that's very scary. Because I could have been facing 3 years in jail for just not doing what they wanted me to do. I've been living abroad for 1 year. I left to Ecuador, but I'm back. My property will be sold on September 13 in front of the court for $8,000.
How much?
$8,000. I paid $375,000 for my property. Not to mention that we had our nursery there, and we spent in the development of the nursery about other $300,000. Not to mention the $220,000 I had to pay for legal representation. Not only we want to tell you about everything that we have gone through throughout these years. I'm back. And I hope that America does wake up. I hope that everybody sees in our cases what is really happening, and that this is no fable, that we have gone through, at least the Cuban people have gone through this before, and they're going to be doing it again. And this time is with major force because we're in America, and we have no place else to go to, like the gentleman said before. So, thank you very much.
I have one question. Will you consider running for office?
No, because politicians are just not to represent the people, remember?
We need
So
the
I'd
right
rather be
politicians.
independent.
No, we need the right politicians. I think you would be perfect
True.
for the job. Thank you.
Yes, Mercy, I'm sorry.
Another question. It says that the land is going to be sold for $8,000.
Yes,
Is it going to be sold as wetland?
that's my question. It has no restriction on
It's
it.
gonna be sold in an auction.
It's an option, so.
But if it's a
But
wetland,
but remember, they do this.
They have to tell whoever buys it that it's a wetland, and they can do anything with it, right?
Exactly, but they don't. We've seen it before. It happened in 1999 where they got all these properties in the same way. Now, then they resold it. They were reselling it. Then the people bought the property. Then they came in a year later after the people bought their property and started the whole process again. And this is where we're at. This is extortion. This is fraud. This is what they do.
When is this going to happen?
Money, and to bring you down financially.
When is this going to happen?
Next week?
September 13th.
So why don't we get a group together, go there, and
buy
when
the
they're going to
property.
do the thing we ask them, what's the zoning for this land?
I think it'd be really good to show
We
up
could.
at an auction.
And see what they say. I mean,
If
what's the
nothing else.
zoning for this land?
I wonder if will they.
How was this land acquired for auction? What's the zoning?
Of
See what they
taxes.
say. And if they say, it's whatever zoning other than wetland, that's I think grounds for a lawsuit.
Well,
No, I understand.
it's
Let's create ruckus.
Safer.
a ruckus work. Thank you anyway.